What's up, everyone? Lots of stuff going on right now. Recounts, elections, been all over the news. We're going to focus on the tax side of that for a few minutes. So for all purposes considered, because it's been announced, we're going to assume for tax purposes Biden is going to be our new president. It's a little more complicated from a tax side. So with Biden leading with a new tax bill, he needs a lot of support from the Senate. Well, it looks like right now that Republicans are going to control the Senate, or at least majority of those votes, but it really comes down to a huge two races in Georgia. So we got a lot going on, a lot to still be determined, but I do believe from speculation what I'm seeing, a lot of these tax plans will be negotiated and offset by some decisions between the president and the Senate on how these things play out. I'm going to share with you what I know and tell you how this impacts you. In summary, if you make over $400,000 a year, you're going to pay more taxes. If you make under $200,000 a year, you're probably not going to be affected. If you have kids or you're buying a first-time house, you're probably going to pay less taxes. So let's dive into the details. What's driving the tax increases? Well, Biden is proposing additional spending. There's a 10-year, $7 trillion spending proposal around infrastructure, bridges, roads, clean energy, colleges, some other things there. So this has got to be offset by additional taxes. So Biden's tax plan is looking at around $3.5 trillion in additional taxes. And where's that going to come from? How's that going to impact you? Let's dive into the details. So on the individual side, we're going to talk about that first. The biggest place and some of the biggest talks are around capital gains and dividends. Now, everybody's freaking out about this. Capital gain rates are 15%, qualified dividend rates are 15%, or 20%, depending on your tax bracket. Under Biden's plan, this is projected to go to ordinary rates, but only over $1 million. So if you're under $1 million, it's going to stay very similar as it has historically over the last few years. So it's not going to drastically affect everybody. Now, for those of you that have rates in that level over $1 million, it's going to pretty much double. So this is going to be a significant impact for some people and something you're going to continue to see a lot negotiated on. 1031 exchanges on the real estate side, being able to swap properties without paying capital gains taxes, that's going to be a item that's going to get a lot of attention. That's going to get a lot of pushback from Republicans in the Senate. We're probably going to see that not be able to be passed, but it's all speculation right now. We don't know. The other place you're going to be impacted if you make over $400,000 is tax bracket. Under Biden's plan, the highest tax bracket, which is individuals that make over 500, married, filing jointly people that make over 620, you're going to see that highest rate go from 37% up to 39.6%. So you're going to see a 2.6% tax bracket increase for all income made over that amount. That means you're going to pay a little more taxes on everything you make over $600,000. You're also going to see a small deduction in what you're able to claim and use from an itemized deduction standpoint if you make over 400. From what we're seeing right now, you make over 400 and you itemize, that's going to be reduced and offset at a 28% tax bracket rate. So your highest levels of itemizing might not offset at a 39.6% level. They may only offset at a 28% level. Now, again, that's going to be negotiated. We're probably going to see some changes there and that arrive or go away at a lower level. So that's one of the places, if you're at a higher income, you're going to see some impact there. Now, the biggest place, I think this has a lot of impact on the higher income W-2 employees, is the Social Security side. This is not income tax. This is Social Security. And to help rebuild our Social Security fund, right now, Social Security taxes are capped at around $137,000. So you pay as an employee around 6.5%. up to $137,000. That's matched by your employer. Then it goes away. Well, under this new proposal, it's called a donut plan. Everything's going to stay the same up to around 137, but once you hit 400, it's going to kick back in. And you as an employee and possibly your employer is going to pay Social Security taxes on everything you make or are paid over $400,000 from a W-2 standpoint or an employee standpoint. So there's going to be a gap there. There's going to be a hole between 137 and 400 where you're not going to pay any additional Social Security tax. But then once you hit 400, it's going to kick back in. And that at a 6.5% level, and especially if it's matched by the employer side, that's a pretty significant number. Now, on the corporate side, there's two changes that I'm reading about right now. Some will impact a lot of you as small business owners. Some will not from a large corporation standpoint. The large corporations, right now, they're at a 21% tax rate. Biden's proposal is to take that to a 28% tax rate. Now, keep in mind, just a few years ago, before the 2018 tax bill change, it was in the 30s. It was in the mid-30s. It's been reduced down to 21. What we're hearing and seeing now is they're looking to take that to a 28%. And then on the pass-through entity side, S-Corps, partnerships, a lot of you are business owners or contractors and file in these formats. There's discussions around getting rid of the QBI deduction over $400,000. So we're probably going to see some changes and some negotiations there. Now, what does all this mean? What are we hearing from our side? What numbers are we running? Right now, if you make between $490,000 and $700,000, you should expect to see a tax increase, if all of this passes, of around $10,000 a year. So incomes between approximately $500,000 and $700,000, your taxes are going to go up around $10,000 a year. Now, if you make over $700,000, this is going to be pretty significant. We're anticipating seeing a 16% change on your side. So those numbers go up tremendously from a tax liability standpoint, over $700,000 of income. If you make under $200,000, you're actually going to benefit under this tax bill and these tax plans. Anybody making under $200,000, you're going to see about a $500 to $700 savings in taxes. Now, a lot of that is going to come from credits. There is proposals to increase the child tax credit. There's proposals to increase the dependent care credit for paying for child care, making that a refundable credit. There's also an introduction back for the first-time home buyer credit, and that's $15,000. Some additional increases in some other credits around low income and the child side, possibly even a renter's credit we're reading a little bit about. So if you make under $200,000 and you have kids or you're looking to buy a house, you're going to see a reduction in taxes or an increase in credits, which is going to help you there. So depending on where you're falling, you could see a pretty dramatic difference in what happens to you from a tax standpoint. Now, what's probably going to happen and what we're reading from a speculation standpoint with the president and the Senate, all this is going to be heavily negotiated. They're going to have to come to a compromise. Everybody's speculating a lot of the individual changes that are being proposed will go away, that we really will not see a tremendous amount of impact there. We'll see a little bit of impact, but nothing tremendous on this level that we're talking about right now. And on the corporate side, that rate is probably going to actually fall in the 24% range. So instead of going 21%, 28%, probably going to land somewhere in that 24% level for corporate taxes. We will probably see the QBI phase out at some point over 400. But as I know more, I'll share more. I'll keep you informed. Lots of things going on, lots of things that impact you from a political side and how these things are handled from a spending standpoint and a tax standpoint. Hope you found this valuable and helps you. As soon as I know more, I'll share. Have a great day.